Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Pure on AWS, Enabling an Enterprise Hybrid Cloud Experience. Today's event is brought to you by Pure Storage with partnership through AWS and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is David Davis, and I'm excited to be your moderator for today's event. Before I introduce today's speakers, I want to tell you a little bit about today's event. First off, we want this to be an educational event. So if you have questions along the way, feel free to use the GoToWebinar control panel to ask as many questions as you'd like. We'll have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation where we'll be asking the best questions. So make sure you get your questions in early. We'll also be awarding a $300 Amazon gift card to one lucky attendee at the end of today's live event. If you're watching the event on demand, I'm sorry, the drawing has already occurred. Full prize terms and conditions can be found at events.actualtechmedia.com. And with that, I'm excited to introduce today's speakers. First off, you'll hear from Mr. Kunal Kapoor, Director of Product Management at Pure Storage, along with Mr. Henry Axelrod, Partner Solutions Architect at Amazon Web Services. Kunal and Henry, thank you so much for being on the event today.
Thank you so much, David.
Thank you.
All right, well, with that, take it away, Kunal.
Perfect. Thanks, David. So I'm really excited to talk about all the solutions that we've been building with close partnership with AWS from a Pure Storage perspective. Very excited to have Henry with me. Henry's been a great partner for us and really been a very important piece to everything that we've done from a product, building out a product and architecture perspective. So really excited to have Henry on board talking about some of his experiences in AWS and how it kind of pertains to the topic we have here. Thank you everyone for joining. Hopefully we'll make this a very educational session for you guys, and please feel free to ask all the questions you have as we proceed through the slides. We'll definitely leave enough time to answer those. So as we from when we in Pure Storage, we started looking at the enterprise cloud strategy and how it's kind of evolving and changing in our customer environments. We felt like it's been a journey for most of our customers. So most of our customers today, when they started from an on-prem kind of a deployment and moved into a hybrid cloud-like environment, that was something that we saw mostly in the enterprise space, that customers have certain set of applications that are just well suited to run on-prem, be it for latency reasons or be it for compliance reasons. So we saw a lot of customers kind of pivoting to the cloud and using the cloud for a certain set of applications, but certain set of applications continue to run on-prem. But even in the cloud, we see customers using many different platforms, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or even SaaS. And that, again, kind of speaks to every customer's needs and requirements are different, which just leads them to many different paths of how they want to kind of embrace the hybrid cloud. And this is not only happening in the enterprises, this is now also happening with customers who are born in the cloud. So we have a lot of customers who build out applications or services that they provide to their end customers, and they build it out firstly on one cloud, but they've quickly realized that there are just many times where multiple clouds is probably the right destination, because that allows them to use the best of services on all these different multi-clouds that are available today. So as you can see, it's been a journey, and we've seen customers kind of evolve into this. But what we've also seen a lot in the last, I would say, at least couple of years is this notion of hybrid applications, not only a hybrid infrastructure, but a hybrid application. And what we mean by that is an application that is architected and built to run not only on-prem, but to run on-prem. Pieces of the application runs on-prem, pieces of that run in an IaaS or a PaaS cloud, and certain portions of that run on SaaS. And the best example for that is our Pure One application that we use internally for a lot of our support capabilities that we provide, proactive support to our customers. And also Pure One is our management platform to manage all of the fleet of Pure arrays on-prem and in the cloud. Pure One started off as an application that was built solely in the cloud. It was built on AWS. But what we quickly realized is that as the application grew and it required a lot of capabilities and services that kind of outgrew AWS, we started to re-architect the app to really start leveraging all the different options it has available within the within our ecosystem of capabilities we have. So now Pure One runs on FlashBlade. It continues to run on AWS, but it also runs on Salesforce. So we've started to see this kind of shift happening, not only in customer environments, but we actually see that internally in Pure itself. And this kind of any kind of research or any kind of blogs you read now, this will kind of it's going to be evident to you that a hybrid infrastructure is where most customers are gravitating towards and are adopting and leveraging. And this is not only true for vendors talking about it. You'll always hear storage vendors talk about the hybrid nature of how the world is going to be it from Pure or any other storage vendor. But this is even true from an hyperscaler perspective. And if you look at Microsoft with Azure Stack, they had introduced this about 3 years ago. They had introduced Azure Stack, which they knew that there's going to be a hybrid world that customers are going to live in. AWS made the exciting announcement of AWS Outposts last year, which was really exciting for a lot of AWS customers to be able to use AWS services on-prem. And even Google, with their Google Anthos announcement, had the similar kind of an on-prem like deployment that they've started to kind of embrace and asking their customers, giving customers their flexibility of choice. So we know that this is going to be the kind of lay of the land now. Hybrid is what it's going to be, and which is why we are very excited as we started our journey of moving our products and capabilities from being only on-prem. Now we've started to build out with the partnership with AWS our capabilities in the cloud. So Henry, I would love to learn from you. I talked a little bit about hybrid and how we've seen our customers evolve into that. How are you guys in AWS seeing that kind of hybrid shift? And what are some of the challenges and benefits of that? If you can kind of walk me through that.
Yeah, absolutely, Kunal. So, I mean, we're definitely seeing, interest in terms of hybrid, and AWS, has long provided different services to help enable hybrid workflows. I mean, in general, we're seeing, more and more organizations looking to, adopt the cloud, adopt the AWS cloud as they go along, and as they do that. Often customers want to have the same or similar experience between working on premises and working on the cloud, because as of now, there's often been different services available, different sets of APIs, different things that customers could do. So being able to kind of bring those things together is something that customers often look for in a hybrid experience. I think customers, also want to be able to kind of, get all the benefits of AWS, the scalability, the cloud economics, the durability, and they also have need for local low latency access for applications or certain parts of applications that are within their portfolio. So we're seeing the benefit of being able to tie that hybrid environment together is that customers are able to get all the great cloud benefits while still being able to keep locally what they need to keep local, and have those two things talk together and work together in a kind of coherent way. We also see that it kind of helps customers along their cloud journey, right? As a kind of even first step, into the cloud. Customers may not on day one, migrate, all workloads to the cloud. Some customers, that's a far off thing for them. But hybrid helps them, again, create that connection and that first step, on their cloud journey. And as I mentioned, that AWS really, provides a lot of those services along with Pure, and we'll be talking a bit about that later on in the webcast. So when we think about kind of the challenges, and this I kind of alluded to as I was talking about some of the benefits that customers are seeing with some of the legacy on IT infrastructure is procurement and getting that infrastructure stood up can often be time consuming and complex, right? There's a lot of hardware involved. Sometimes it's from different different vendors, and there's a lot to to do to get that procured. There's also a lot of um, overhead that customers have to do to kind of manage that environment. This is what we hear from different customers, that they need to think about how to patch and upgrade, and how to ensure compatibility between different components within their environment, as well as deal with how do you do upgrades without creating impact, which I think is actually something that Pure does pretty well with non-disruptive upgrades as well. And then from a developer's perspective, we've heard from developers that they want to be able to use the same services and APIs across cloud and on premises, right? No matter where they're deploying their applications or deploying the infrastructure for their applications, they want to have those those same services and APIs, as well as the same tools available to them to help create a unified experience. So they want altogether a very similar look, feel, and process for all the services, features, code, APIs that they're used to doing. And all this kind of leads up to kind of a pace of innovation. They want to be able to quickly again, use locally what they need to be able to use locally, but yet have the kind of pace of innovation of the cloud.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Henry. That's really informative. And as Henry pointed out, these in Pure, about 9 years ago, when we started off and we introduced our first product in the data center, these were exactly some of the challenges we were trying to solve on-prem. And Henry hinted at that. When we talk about non-disruptive upgrades with Pure, from our perspective, we wanted to give customers an evergreen business model to go with the technology stack that supports that. Today, if you roll in a Pure Storage into your environment, you can upgrade any piece of hardware within the Pure Storage, Pure Storage appliance in a non-disruptive fashion, be it hardware or software. And we obviously provide probably the best support experience to our customers today in the on-prem environment, especially. So this is some of the challenges that we've been looking to solve for our customers for the last 9 years that we've been around, and we've been very successful at that. Being the fastest company to $1 billion from an infrastructure perspective, our customers have spoken for us, that they know that we are trying to solve some really hard challenges on-prem, and they're looking for us to do similar things in the cloud, bring that simplicity, bring that support model, and just bring all of the richness of capabilities that we've been able to provide on-prem now in the cloud. So when we kind of double-clicked and looked at what our customers kind of working with when you're looking on-prem in the cloud, what we found is kind of across the stack, there's a lot of differences in what our customers have come to value and expect on-prem and in the cloud. It starts with resiliency. I mean, resiliency is something that is kind of a given when you're looking at on-prem storage, especially a flash array. We are highly, obviously, resilient. We are highly available. Durability-wise, we definitely are in the top, in the top notch there. And when you look at the cloud, while cloud is really, really simple and very effective from a storage perspective, there are differences from a resiliency features perspective. And even when you talk about efficiencies, a lot of our customers value on the flash array, flash blade, storage appliances, the efficiencies we bring. We've made flash almost the cost of a disk. So we give you the performance of flash at the price of disk, because we can give you significant storage efficiencies, really be able to reduce your data footprint by providing the most superior dedupe and compression algorithms that are available in the industry today. And the other thing that we also find the big difference when people are trying to go from on-prem to the cloud is having a very kind of, and Henry hinted at that a very inconsistent API model. So any kind of automation or work that you've done on-prem, just cannot be lift and shift into the cloud. It usually requires a lot of re-architecture and a lot of rework that our customers have to do. So we wanted to make sure that we kind of help bridge that gap, that customers who are looking to build out a hybrid infrastructure and are looking to live on-prem and in the cloud, or even pivot completely to the cloud, can we provide them all the capabilities that we've given them on-prem also in the cloud? So that was the mission we were kind of embarking on about a year ago when we started to build out our solutions and our capabilities in AWS. So we introduced our Cloud Block Store, or at the AWS reInvent conference last year, we announced beta for the product. We're super psyched that now it is actually generally available, the product. So our customers have started to now already deploy Cloud Block Store in their environments. And what Cloud Block Store is really trying to do in a nutshell is really trying to give you the ability to take all of the goodness of the Purity software that our customers absolutely have valued and loved on the FlashArray on-prem. We've taken that software and we've now purpose-built it to run it on AWS native storage. So we've taken all the goodness of Pure with our software and brought it to the cloud, and we're using all the amazing services and resources we have in AWS to really build out a storage stack that really kind of resonates with our customers and provides them what they're really looking for from a capabilities perspective. Additionally to Cloud Block Store, we have introduced products like Cloud Snap, which I'll briefly talk about later in my slide, and Object Engine. So we definitely are not stopping with Cloud Block Store. We're building out a lot of products with our AWS partnership for our customers to provide them a lot of flexibility in that aspect. So as I mentioned, Cloud Block Store is kind of in a nutshell is really think about it like a virtual flash array that is running in your Amazon account in your VPC. So in the confines of your data center in the cloud, which is a VPC, Cloud Block Store gets deployed and you manage that like a flash array that you had on-prem. So obviously it's 100% software. So it's a software appliance deployed through CloudFormation template in your Amazon account. When you decide to get it, all we do is give you a CloudFormation template that you can get started with and deploy the infrastructure that way. So we obviously, that was step one for us. Use AWS's recommended cloud native way to deploy infrastructure, which is CloudFormation. We obviously, as I mentioned, bring all of the goodness of the Purity software. So deduplication, compression, thin provisioning, which is again, just table stakes and really, really important for our customers on-prem. We're able to preserve that with Cloud Block Store. It's really the same software. It's the same software that runs on a FlashArray on-prem. So if a certain set of customers are getting 4:5:1 data reduction on-prem, they're going to get the same data reduction with Cloud Block Store. And it's been proven by our customers who were in our beta program and who are running POCs that the same set of applications that they were running on-prem on a FlashArray, when they took it to Cloud Block Store, they were really happy that they were getting the same kind of storage efficiencies there. And then above and beyond that, we wanted to make sure all our data services come along with that, with those storage efficiencies. So space efficient snapshots, quality of service, always on encryption, all of our replication solutions. So that is async replication, active cluster, all of that is available with Cloud Block Store day one. So we wanted to make sure that there's feature-to-feature compatibility with on-prem and the cloud to kind of help with that divide that I talked about earlier, that we wanted to provide customers the ability to move an application from on-prem to the cloud, or even set up a DR environment in the cloud without having to compromise on any features or capabilities they've come to expect. And obviously the biggest, the underpinning of that is a consistent API model. We wanted to make sure that whatever automation or scripting our customers have done on-prem with a FlashArray works as is with Cloud Block Store. There should be really nothing they need to change in their environment. They should be able to just move that in a very, very efficient and seamless fashion. And I'll talk a little bit towards the end of the session around the flexibility around the commercial model. We obviously wanted to make sure that, again, anything that we are offering with Cloud Block Store is in an OpEx-like mode, again, providing you a lot of flexibility in how you can procure and deploy Cloud Block Store. So some of the capabilities that we've been able to bring with Cloud Block Store is really around reliability and predictable performance. Instead of customers having to provision, in silos, applications and VMs, now they can put all of their VMs and applications to the Cloud Blocks or provision it to the Cloud Block Store layer, and it provides all the predictability of performance across all those application and VMs that you've provisioned to Cloud Block Store. So customers don't have to kind of figure out like what's the best mix of storage and how should I kind of get the performance profile I'm looking for. They can just, all that is abstract, all those complexities are abstracted away from them. They just need to provision to the Cloud Block Store layer, and we take care of all of the heavy lifting on the back end. Very similar to how we do it on the flash array. The other unique use case that we can enable, and Henry will talk to that later in the slides too, is the ability to deploy Cloud Block Store in a high availability mode. So having 2 Cloud Block Store instances in 2 AZs in AWS, allowing you to kind of run in a very agile and active mode, where even if one AZ goes down, the application just seamlessly fails over to another AZ and continues to run without any disruption. I talked a lot about the storage efficiency, so I won't kind of harp on that point anymore. But that's obviously that's probably the biggest benefit our customers are able to derive with Cloud Block Store. Snapshots, again, Henry will talk to this use case, especially from a test and dev environment. Our customers heavily use snapshots today on a flash array. It's probably one of the most efficient snapshot technologies out in the industry today. So we are super excited that we could bring that to the cloud and just give customers the same kind of efficiencies they get with their primary data, now also with their secondary data with snapshots. And the one unique thing about Pure from a security standpoint is every block of data, be it user data, be it metadata, is always encrypted. It just can't be turned off. It's just always, every block of data that lands on a flash array is encrypted. Same thing with Cloud Block Store. Any piece of data that lands on a Cloud Block Store is encrypted, which gives customers the peace of mind that they know that anytime there's any kind of anyone gets access to the Cloud Block Store instance or even a flash array, they know that all they're going to see is encrypted data. They can never get to see any data in clear text, which is huge from a security standpoint. So with that, again, Henry, I'd love to, before I jump into the architecture, I'd love to understand from you all the building blocks we as a team explored with you and the AWS product teams on how we can best kind of build out the architecture for Cloud Block Store.
Yes, thank you, Kunal. Yes, and I was very happy to work with the Pure team on showing them these different services, and these services are not all part of what's in Cloud Block Store, but I wanted to kind of talk about this from a building blocks perspective. AWS currently has over 165 different services and constantly innovating on behalf of our customers and our partners. And these services are some of the kind of building block services that go into not only building something like Cloud Block Store, but also a hybrid connectivity in general. So you can see like general services like Amazon VPC or the virtual private cloud, which is the base networking construct that that is part of your Amazon, your AWS cloud environment. Also another important one I just want to point out there is AWS Direct Connect. This is especially important in a hybrid setup because it gives you a dedicated connection between your on-premises location and the AWS cloud. And currently it's either in 1 or 10 gigabit connection, which you can connect more than one connection together as well for link aggregation. But this is important so that you can you have a high-speed dedicated connection for getting data between your on-premises location and the AWS cloud. We also announced last year the upcoming release of AWS Outpost, which is another methodology to help kind of bridge the gap between on-premises and AWS, bringing essentially cloud services to your on-premises environment. We also work together in a partnership with VMware in helping them with their service, VMware Cloud on AWS, which allows you to deploy VMware VMs in a fully managed service on that runs on top of AWS. So it's the same VMs that you run on premises in VMware without having to, convert them to Amazon EC2 instances, which are the virtual machines that run on the AWS platform. We also offer, core services. A lot of these is what the Cloud Block Store are built upon, like Amazon Simple Storage Service or Amazon S3, which is the highly scalable, highly durable object storage platform that's actually protected across 3 different availability zones in the AWS global infrastructure. We also have, Elastic Block Store, which is a managed block storage service. I mentioned already Amazon EC2, as well as AWS Lambda, which is ability to run serverless functions. So all these services all act as kind of building blocks that customers and partners are able to build solutions on top of to ultimately provide what is needed and to provide cost-effective and enterprise scale services as Pure has done here with Cloud Block Store.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Henry. And that tees it up perfectly, because just given the amount of choices of storage and compute that we had in AWS made our lives a lot simpler in Pure. When we started to work with the AWS product team on how can we build out an architecture that really kind of works for our customer and gives them the kind of durability, availability, and performance they're looking for. So how we've kind of gone about designing Cloud Block Store is very different from what you would expect. A lot of customers, I remember when I talked to them about Cloud Block Store in the early days, they're like, yeah, so you're going to put your software on EC2 instances, you're going to back that up with EBS volumes, and you're going to call it a day, and that's what your Cloud Block Store will look like. We actually went way beyond that, because we really wanted to provide customers the same kind of capabilities they have on-prem with a flash array in the cloud. So what we did was firstly, we obviously use EC2 instances where our Purity software runs. That's kind of a no-brainer. But really where the magic happens is really on how we build out the storage stack that kind of stands behind those EC2 instances where the software runs. Instead of just having EBS volumes as the persistent backend, we built out this concept of a virtual shelf. And that virtual shelf is basically built out of 7 EC2 instances. These are i3 instances with NVMe-enabled instance stores that come along with it. So the reason we use EC2 instances and this instance store layer, which we call virtual shelf, is because we wanted both the EC2 instances where the Purity software runs to talk to all of the instances in the virtual shelf. So by virtue of that, what we can provide to customers is high availability within an availability zone. So if you have one EC2 instance fail where the Purity software is running, it just seamlessly fails over to the second controller EC2 instance, and it just kind of continues to run in a, again, non-disruptive, seamless fashion. So very similar to on-prem. On-prem, we have 2 controllers. Think about them as now becoming 2. Now there are 2 EC2 instances in AWS where our Purity software runs. We have a virtual shelf layer, as I talked about, and basically build out of instance stores and obviously EC2 instances. And that's the virtual shelf I talked about. We also use EBS IO1 devices for our NVRAM. So we are able to give customers a really superior write performance, because every time a write comes into CBS, it's written to IO1 and acknowledged back to the host. IO1 is the highest grade of SSD storage you can get in AWS. So we leverage that. And obviously, I talked a little bit about the virtual drive with instances and instance store that gives us the ability for customers to have, firstly, the multi-attach capability. So one EC2 instance where the software runs fails, the other one takes over. It gives you the ability to do non-disruptive upgrades for software and hardware. So we were able to provide all of that. And we also very uniquely place these EC2 instances in a spread placement group. So AWS has best practices around how you should be provisioning these instances. And if you put them in a spread placement group, which is 7 instances, you get a fault domain isolation. What I mean by that is that every instance, EC2 instance in that virtual shelf sits on a different server. So even if one server fails, it doesn't mean you have multiple instances failing, which again, builds to that resiliency and durability piece. But we also took it a step further. We also have a copy of the data in S3. And Henry hinted at that with what S3 provides to AWS customers. It provides the highest levels of durability, because every time you write a block of data to S3, it replicates it to 3 different availability zones, which just means that 11 nines of durability is probably the best in class you can get from a durability standpoint. So we keep 100% of the data in the instance store. So you get superior read performance. With NVRAMs, you get the superior write performance. And with S3 kind of added to the overall storage stack, gives you the highest levels of durability too. So what we believe with Cloud Block Store we've really done is really taken all the best available resources we have in AWS, and we have a plenty of those resources, as Henry pointed out, to kind of build out a stack that really kind of talks to our customers on the tier 1 storage that they are looking for when they are looking to Pure to provide this in the cloud. So I'm sure there'll be some questions on the architecture. I'll be happy to answer them as we get to the end of the presentation. But I'm hoping this give you guys a good kind of insight into how we went about and designed this with the help of the AWS product teams. So if you look at now Cloud Block Store, and you kind of take a step back now that you understand the product and what we're trying to do from what we're trying to solve, the important piece for us was, as I always said, the underpinning of a consistent storage experience on-prem in the cloud is really defined by the APIs and also by all of the management and orchestration that customers want to do. So we wanted to make sure with Cloud Block Store that, of course, we have a consistent API model, but all of the features and all of that automation that we've been able to provide on-prem, be it VMware automation, be it a Pure One from a monitoring and support perspective, or even all of our full stack orchestration around Kubernetes, Puppet, and Python, and PowerShell, all of the things that our customers absolutely love about Pure, we are able to bring to the cloud with Cloud Block Store. So we wanted to provide a consistent storage experience and a consistent automation and API experience too. So with that, I'll jump into use cases, and I'll pass it on to Henry to kind of walk through some of the key use cases that we jointly have been seeing from a success standpoint, Pure and AWS.
Yeah, thank you, Kunal. Yeah, so I think these use cases are definitely important to kind of point out in what we're seeing customers actually do with this. I think as both Pure and AWS were looking at this, we very much value customer feedback, and we found it interesting to see how customers are making use of this offering. So the first thing that we're seeing is the disaster recovery use case, where essentially you have a Pure Flash array on premises, and you have a Cloud Block Store array set up in AWS, and using the same asynchronous replication that you would use between Pure at either on the same site or 2 different on-premises locations. It's the same exact setup and replication between the 2. So, what this kind of gives you is the ability to be able to, fail over to cloud and be able to run, EC2 instances that can now access that same, data set that you had running Pure on premises. You can also be able to, replicate back in the, event that you, that you have whatever was going on premises resolved, and then you can go ahead and sync that data back to on premises. So this gives you, a lot of flexibility in, where you're running your compute. If you have you don't need to maintain the entire second site or a colo facility just for for on premises. You get the flexibility of having your data, where you need it in a DR situation, but you don't need to have any of that compute running, until you have a DR event or doing a DR test. So this saves a lot on having, spare compute and hardware, just lying around a secondary data center. So as we, look to the next use case, it's in a very similar manner as customers are looking to, to migrate and do kind of a lift and shift from what they have on premises, having that ability to, again, replicate to a cloud block store running on AWS, having all the same features and functionality that you're used to in your Pure Flash array on premises, and then being able to spin up your EC2 instances, do all your testing, all in the same same architecture, and then when ready, be able to cut over those particular workloads to run on the on the Pure Cloud Block Store that's running on AWS, and then you have those workloads ready to go and to run as fully production workloads. So we're seeing that as part of kind of customer strategy. And another very important workload that we're seeing customers do is dev tests. So instead of maintaining a separate development or testing environment, or having hardware on your local virtualization farm, you can actually take those same volumes, maybe they're production volumes that are running on your your Pure Flash array, and be able to sync those over to to a cloud block store running. And with Pure's snapshotting capability, right, you can create multiple snapshots and clones of those volumes without having to use additional space, and be able to spin up many EC2 instances, get virtually unlimited capacity to spin up all the virtual instances you need, as go and have all those copies of data sets from your production that might be running on premises, and be able to just spin those up on demand. So you only, of course, on the AWS platform pay for resources that you're using. So when you're not using those compute for a particular test, you can go ahead and spin those down. And then, if you need to pop up another test environment within minutes, you can, you can get another clone from a storage perspective on Cloud Block Store and spin up a bunch of entire another compute environment to test your application. So it creates really a lot of efficiencies on both the storage and the compute layer. It makes testing and development really easy. Another point here is that when running Pure on AWS, we have what we call availability zones within a region, and region is just a geographical area where we kind of cluster data centers. Within those regions, we have multiple availability zones, and those consist of usually one or more data center, and they're separated by meaningful distances. So we talked about Amazon S3, for example, that's protected across 3 or more of these availability zones. When we're talking about block storage, it's usually within an availability zone. So what Pure it gives you the ability to do here is to run an actual active cluster between 2 of those availability zones, which essentially gives you almost it's equivalent to running between 2 data centers. And you can have a active cluster setup so that you have fully transparent failover. So if something should happen to one availability zone, if it becomes unavailable for some reason, you keep that high availability and can continue working without downtime. By being able to go right over and fail over to the cloud block store that's running in the other availability zone. So this creates actual cross availability zone, block storage level availability.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Henry. And I think that's the cool thing about from a cloud block store perspective that we're excited that from an architecture's perspective, I talked about having high availability within an AZ with just one cloud block store instance. The ability to now extend that across AZs too, to have cross AZ, as Henry pointed out, protection too. So having high availability across 2 availability zones is huge. And obviously customers can go above and beyond this. They can always have an async replication leg of one of these active cluster legs to maybe even a different region. So we've been able to really kind of give customers the ability to do basically address any use case that they have in the cloud. So now that Henry's walked us through some of the key use cases that we've seen our customers kind of leverage this solution for, I wanted to double click a little bit from an application standpoint. So a big set of our customers run VMware farms and VMware on a flash array today. So a lot of those customers ask us the simple question of, okay, how do I take that VMware environment and just leverage Cloud Block Store like I leverage flash array on-prem, and how can I kind of do that? So my thing to them, to my answer to most customers is that we can replicate a VMFS data store all day long. We are not aware it's a VMFS data store. We're just going to replicate that. But the problem is that if you try to now take that VMFS data store and you try to mount it up to native EC2 hosts, it's not going to work because ESX is not the native hypervisor within AWS. So you just can't mount a VMFS data store. So what my recommendation to almost every customer I speak to now is really thinking about vVols. vVols has been a big innovative product that VMware introduced a few years ago, and really vVols has taken a lot of the same goodness of VMware and now provided a lot more feature sets on what customers can do with vVols. So what vVols does is makes VMs the first-class citizen within a storage stack. So there is 1:1 association between a VM and the backend storage volumes. And what that does is it removes the VMFS dependency. So there is no VMFS file system dependency now. So when you replicate vVols from on-prem to the cloud, you can absolutely just mount those vVols directly to EC2 hosts. So if you, for example, are running SQL Server on vVols on-prem, those are just NTFS LUNs. When you copy over those NTFS LUNs through async replication from flash array to Cloud Block Store, you can just mount those volumes as is. So I think data portability is a really important piece, and really kind of the first step that a lot of our customers should be thinking about, that how can I take my environment that is running on-prem and how can I make it portable to run it in a very hybrid-like environment, which they're trying to attempt to do. So portability, what vVols brings to the table is huge, and really, firstly, it brings all of the innovation that VMware has been doing in the vVol space. So you have all of the goodness of that, and you also have the added benefit of the portability piece. So another way to make your data a lot more portable between on-prem and the cloud, just the containers. Containers is something that makes it really, really simple for customers to, again, make data very portable from on-prem to the cloud. We introduced a software, Pure Service Orchestrator, that kind of abstracts away all of the storage complexities on the back end. So if a admin is doing any containerized provisioning, we have a plugin into the Kubernetes stack, which basically allows them to provision to the storage SLAs they're looking for. And Pure Service Orchestrator decides which flash array or flash blade in the fleet it needs to provision that container application to. Cloud Block Store is just another flash array. It's a virtual flash array that's running in the cloud. So Kubernetes, so our Pure Service Orchestrator software just works as is with Cloud Block Store. So now customers can absolutely take their container environments that they're leveraging Pure Service Orchestrator with Pure. They can take that to the cloud. And again, containers kind of takes it even a step further from a portability standpoint. Now there is no file system or even operating system dependencies. So again, portability becoming the key message there. The other feature that we introduced this was earlier in the year was the ability to do cloud snaps to AWS S3. And what I mean by that is we introduced this concept of a portable snapshot. So when you take snapshots on a flash array today, those snapshots are local. But we also give customers the ability, all built into the flash array without the need of any licenses or external software, to actually offload that snapshot to AWS S3 or NFS targets. And when we what that portable snapshot is data and metadata is embedded into the snapshot before we offload it to cloud targets or to NFS targets. And because it is got data and metadata embedded in it, it becomes a self-describing snapshot that can be recovered to any flash array in your environment. Not only the flash array it was offloaded from, but to any flash array. So what Cloud Block Store, as I've mentioned many times in this presentation, is really a virtual flash array. So you can take a cloud snap, and in the event of a disaster, or even if you just want to spin up that environment in the cloud, you can absolutely take that snapshot that's been offloaded to Cloud Block Store and spin it up in the cloud itself. So you can think about it as a on-demand DR, on-demand test and dev, on-demand migration. So all of the use cases that Henry talked about can be enabled in a lot more flexible option using Cloud Snap and Cloud Block Store. So it just gives customers more choice there. So now that we've talked a lot about the product and the use cases, let's kind of dig into how do we get started with CBS. So for Cloud Block Store, there are two very flexible options we provided to our customers. Pure as a Service and the Marketplace. So Pure as a Service is something we introduced about a year ago, which allowed customers to procure a flash array or a flash blade in an OpEx-like model, not a CapEx, but an OpEx-like model, where we send them a flash array or flash blade into their data center, and they sign up for a subscription based on capacity and term, like 100 terabytes and 1 year, and they can leverage all the goodness of a flash array and flash blade in a subscription-like model. We extended Cloud Block Store to be part of that same framework, that same Pure as a Service framework. So if a customer has signed up for a 100 terabyte 1 year subscription on-prem today, they can take any part of that capacity and take it to Cloud Block Store if there is a business or organizational need to do that. So what we believe we've done with that is we've provided you not only a hybrid technology stack, same software running on both sides, but also a hybrid commercial offering where any part of the subscription that you have on-prem can be extended into the cloud without any amendment of the subscription. You have a Cloud Block Store license as soon as you sign up for Pure as a Service, and you can leverage that in the cloud itself. So again, a lot of flexibility there. But we also wanted to provide Cloud Block Store through the AWS Marketplace, which we are very excited that we were able to provide that. So this is for customers who have AWS pre-commits or just prefer procuring and getting products to the marketplace. We absolutely have Cloud Block Store available there too, and customers can I procure it in either or way, Pure as a Service or through the AWS Marketplace. I talked a little bit about Pure as a Service, what it brings to customers. I kind of run through it, but it just gives customers the ability to de-risk their investment if they are buying a flash array on-prem today, but their goal and vision is to go to the cloud. They de-risk their investment by investing in a Pure as a Service subscription day one, and they can take any part of that subscription into the cloud. So it just gives them that peace of mind. I wanted to, Henry, maybe talk to you a little bit about the marketplace, because I know we work very closely again with the marketplace team and with the product teams in AWS, because we know the marketplace provides customers a lot of options and flexibility, and we wanted to make sure that Cloud Block Store embraces that. So I would love to hear your thoughts on marketplace and how customers consume it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see lots of customers consuming things from the marketplace. The marketplace is essentially a catalog of software where customers can, be able to procure and deploy many different software offerings. Currently, the marketplace works with over 1,400 different ISVs and has over 1,400 different product listings. It's available in most AWS regions, including the AWS GovCloud region. And it really offers lots of different ways to be able to procure. So it gives customers a maximum amount of flexibility. They can be able to use different types of ways of procuring, either on hourly basis, on contract basis, as well. And it's really fully secure, gives them one consolidated bill. Everything that's procured through the AWS Marketplace, goes on on customers' AWS bills, so they don't need to worry about different different methods of procurement or how they're going to get software. And really, this is something that we're constantly evolving and creating new and different ways for customers to find, to buy, as well as to deploy any software that they need on the AWS platform.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Henry. And with that, we wanted to. I know we are about 9 minutes to the end of the session, so I think we talked a lot about the hybrid vision and the hybrid challenges and benefits that our customers are faced with. We spent a decent amount of time talking about the product and why we believe Cloud Block Store is really differentiated from anything else out there, from an architecture perspective and what capabilities it's providing to our joint customers. And we spend a lot of time on use cases and also a lot on the commercial model on how you can procure Cloud Block Store. So my call to action for all of you guys who are listening to this, if this excited you and this is a product that meets your needs within your business, please go to the AWS Marketplace, download the product, get some runtime with the product and see how that works for you. And please do provide feedback to Henry and me and to the AWS and Pure team in general on what are some of the things we can do better and how it does meet your needs or doesn't meet your needs. We would love to hear from you on that. So with that, I want to give about, we have about 8 minutes for any questions or anything that we've got from the audience.
Yes, Kunal, a great presentation, Henry. Excellent information. We do have some questions here for you from the audience. First one that came in, Dan is asking if this is compatible with VMware Cloud on AWS.
So this is compatible. So Cloud Block Store is compatible with VMware AWS Cloud with just one caveat. So today, vSAN is the only native storage offering within VMware AWS Cloud. And we are working with VMware very closely as they open it up to more ecosystem partners. We are absolutely in front of the line working as a design partner with them. So today, Cloud Block Store is not a native storage offering within VMC. Only vSAN is. So the way Cloud Block Store works in VMware AWS Cloud today is connecting it up directly into the guest. So you can get all of the goodness I talked about with Cloud Block Store by connecting it up directly into the guest. But it's a little bit different, obviously, than how you would come to provision it on-prem with a flash array. And as I said, that's something we are working very closely with the VMware team. Hopefully, when that is available, I'll be happy to provide that update too.
Excellent, excellent. And you made a great point about converting VMS file systems to vVols and then being able to run your operating systems in EC2 hosts and access the data. That was something I hadn't seen before. So that was very cool, a very cool option for people out there who are using VMware. Another question here about pricing. How is CloudSnap priced when it comes to backups?
So CloudSnap is in the pure typical fashion, it's free. There's no cost to that. You just upgrade to the appropriate software level where CloudSnap is supported, which is 5.2 on the flash array side, and you have that feature for free. So we wanted to make sure that we always give customers access to innovation without having to nickel dime them, which has always been the pure business model. So you can get CloudSnap free of cost, and you can just get started with it today if you have a flash array on-prem.
Nice, nice. Well, that makes it easy. Another question here: what kind of dedupe or data reduction ratios can you get with Cloud Block Store?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think that's something that a lot of my customers have asked me, and it's at parity with anything you get on a flash array. So if you, as I mentioned before, if your our average across our install base is four is to one from a data reduction rate, you'll get the same exact data reduction rate with Cloud Block Store because we're using the same deduplication and compression algorithms that we have on-prem with our Purity software with Cloud Block Store. So consistency was something we were really going for, and we've achieved that with Cloud Block Store.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay. Another question. What about the geographies of Cloud Block Store? Is it offered around the world, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I'll actually take a part of that question, and I'll also ask Henry to talk to it. So it is available in all, we're trying to make it available in all AWS major regions. With the only caveat is that we do use C5N instances in AWS today, which is kind of top of line, from an instances offered within AWS, and that's not available in all of the regions. So in most of the major regions, as I said, it's available. So Cloud Block Store is available there. But we are working very closely with the AWS team as they are rolling out the availability of C5N instances in more regions to make it available to customers pretty much in any region they want to deploy Cloud Block Store to. Henry, do you want to add to that? I know we've been working very closely with you and the team on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so AWS currently has 22 geographical regions around the world, and we kind of deploy things based on customer needs. So we're continually innovating, deploying. We, as Kunal said, these C5Ns are not available in every region as of yet. But if there is any particular regions that you're interested in that that don't have them currently, definitely feel free to reach out to to your AWS representative or to us, and we'll be happy to to bring that to the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Henry. And I think that's that's an important piece, that please do reach out to us if there is a region that you want to deploy Cloud Block Store to, and if there is, say, no availability for C5N instances and I wanted to point out, C5N is where our Purity software runs. Those are the instances we use. If there is a region that you want to deploy to, reach out to, as Henry said, to the AWS representative or directly back to Henry and me, and we'd be happy to kind of work with you on trying to figure out a timeline that works for you.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Here's a question that just came in from John. He's asking, basically, maybe you can clarify, what's the difference between Cloud Block Store and using AWS itself? He said, and maybe he's talking about like EBS in AWS.
So, I mean, the difference really comes down to, as I said, some of the features that we are able to provide our customers on-prem with a FlashArray Purity software. Things like storage efficiencies. This is something our customers absolutely have valued with our Purity software, where we provide the highest levels of dedupe and compression. Our data services, I talked about encryption, space-efficient snapshots we spoke a lot about, replication solutions, encryption, all of the goodness of that software. So really, it's bringing all of the things that our customers value on-prem with our software to the cloud, versus, again, it's basically giving customers that flexible option that now they have more block storage offerings within AWS. There's EBS, which is the native block offering, as Henry pointed out. But now customers also have the flexibility to deploy to basically more different third-party options that they can leverage.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, that makes sense. And then there's a number of questions here around basically kind of like getting started, licensing. How do I connect it to volumes, on a host? Can you kind of walk through the process?
Sure. So it's very simple to get started with Cloud Block Store. If this is something that you want to try out, going to the marketplace is probably the simplest way to do that. Just go to AWS Marketplace, that gives you access to Cloud Block Store. As soon as you subscribe to the product, you get a license that is sent to you, and that helps you just deploy through CloudFormation template, as I mentioned. So really simple, few steps to get started with Cloud Block Store. From a licensing perspective, as soon as you subscribe to the product, you get a license. When you're trying to put this into production, though, obviously there is, from the licensing, how it works is there are kind of two parts to your bill. One part of your bill is the entitlement or the cost to run the Purity software. So that's your first part of the bill. And the second part of your bill is all the AWS resources that Cloud Block Store consumes. And I think that's the important piece. With Cloud Block Store, we try to minimize the amount of cloud storage that we provision. We provision more on demand and as you need it. So we really try to reduce your cloud spend, especially at scale. And of course, we also want to make sure that we're giving you a lot of flexibility. So it's offered through Pure as a service and to the marketplace.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that real quick as well. That's one of actually the benefits that a lot of customers that we see are able to do is the ability to test and to POC and to quickly deploy on the AWS platform, because you can go from not having an account to signing up and deploying infrastructure around the globe within minutes. So I think I would recommend to anyone who's interested in testing this out. It's a lot easier to POC and to test on AWS, because you could just deploy on demand. You don't have to worry about any hardware shipping or anything of that nature. So I think that makes it a pretty easy experience for customers.
Absolutely, yeah, it sounds super easy.
Thanks a lot.
Go ahead, Kunal.
No, sorry. I'm just saying that I know we're just over time, so I wanted to see if there are any other quick questions, David. Otherwise, we can probably wrap it up.
Yeah, I think that's all the time we have. It looks like we've covered all the questions. It's been a really great webinar. I learned a lot. I'm sure the audience did as well. Before we go, I want to award the Amazon $300 gift card to Matt Collins of Illinois. Congratulations, Matt Collins will reach out to you. And for everyone else, if you'd like to learn more about the Cloud Block Store solution, of course, visit purestorage.com and also go to the AWS Cloud Marketplace and give it a try for yourself. Thank you so much, Kunal and Henry. Great webinar.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David and Henry. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
And thank you everyone out there in the audience for joining us on today's event. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.